Welcome to Sprint 3 of HelloDBP demo. And in this sprint, we're going to connect IS feeding data into Terracotta DB using the new Terracotta DB adapter to have it at hand in an in-memory data store. Okay, so we've now got our health data, we've got these devices registered, we've got the health coming in. But it's great having this stuff out there in the cloud, but we still have a lot of applications on premise, and we've got a lot of developers for these applications that would need to be able to access that data extremely quickly. As a CIO, I need a single and fast repository for all of this thing information that we can now expose to the applications within our business. So, Jay, what solution do you have for me?
Right. You want it fast, and you want a single repository across all of our apps. You didn't say so, but I know one of your requirements is that it's not just the measurement data, it's not just the device data, but also who's the account that bought that thing, and we might have other metadata about the thing that's not related to the measurements themselves. So you might have thought, why did we need anything except for cumulosity? But it's because there's other metadata as well. So let's use Terracotta DB for that. It's a fantastic in-memory data store. I'm going to show creating the fact that there's a connector using the adapter. We'll create a new thing record and then do the CRUD operations in the developer world. We have something called CRUD, create, read, update, delete. These are the common operations that we do on objects. So let's go through that whole life cycle. Some of these we're going to build ourselves, and some of them we're going to show through the demo that's out of the oven called HelloDBP. Okay, so let's
Shall we start the sprint timer?
Yes.
There you go.
So let's switch over and show the, I'm going to zoom this up here, and I'm going to switch just like we did with the last one. We went to the cloud streams, and instead of that, we're going to go back to the adapters and show that for the Terracotta adapter, we have one thing connection, and it is pointing to the Terracotta instance that I have, and basically it then operates like an adapter, and we're going to see the UI to how to create a new adapter service for Terracotta that saves. So we need a new adapter service, and we're going to call it, I'm going to switch over here to Terracotta. It's going to be create record, and now I'll let you do the talking.
All right. So what Jay's going to do here is create an adapter service, again using our standard adapters to, in this case, to do an insert. Now the unique thing that you'll notice here, which is different from a JDBC adapter, for example, because you don't need a DBA to create the table for you, it's going to be based purely on an IS doc type. So in this case, you've got that thing doc type. You notice we specified the doc type there, and that's what's going to effectively define the data structure that we now insert into Terracotta DB. So let's close down those services, and what we'll do now is we have this create thing service. So whenever we register the device with Cumulosity, we're also going to insert it into our Terracotta DB, meaning that we now have all of that data in an in-memory data store, very fast accessible within our organization. Of course, that will include the ID that we got back from registering the device in Cumulosity. So the Cumulosity device ID will now also be available in Terracotta.
Right. And make another one for reading a record.
Yes.
And then we'll show them together.
Yep, because then we can, so very similar, Terracotta DB. Now, I think you need to run the create first, didn't you, Jay? To make sure we've got some data in there to introspect.
Yes, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll get this ready and just say that I want to read 10 of them. So I want to do the introspection this time, not telling it that the IS document type. So
that's right. You could put an IS doc type there, which would use that structure. But we want to show you another cool bit of functionality from the Terracotta DB, that it can base it on actual data. So Jay's going to register thing 2 here right now.
And I'm going to say, this time I'm going to say I have a health and I have an account.
You have an account. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to do everything so that it's a fully populated field. And
There
so
we
we
go.
have thing 2, it was created. And now let's read that record. So if we switch over here,
Yeah, so that'll just refresh the thing. Now, what you see now is it's actually gone and read some data. So this is not introspecting the schema because there is no schema in Terracotta DB. But because we inserted a record, it's now pulled out that record. We told it to pull up to 10 records, so because you could have 10 records which have different columns, different fields with them. So this will base it on the sort of the union of the fields in the first 10 records in that. But in this case, it's just one record, and if there were multiple, they'd all be the same structure anyway. So I'll now create a flow service which is going to be for reading the record, where we'll exactly do the same sort of thing. Just a wrapper flow service, which you would also often see. And in this case, we're going to provide an ID and make this thing queryable. So you put the filtering on the read record. There you go. So by specifying now the key, it'll filter to retrieve the details of a specific device.
so now we can run this one, and it should read. This is, remember, we did CRUD. C is create, R is read. So let's go ahead and read this one.
Yes, do you remember what the ID is? Because I don't think you looked yet.
88001. I do remember. Okay. And remember, we put in thing 2,
yep.
And this is, we just typed in the word account, and it's health 100. So this is reading from there. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to, you don't know about this one. I'm going to create something that lists all of the things. So if you pass in no, if you give it no ID, it returns everything. So I'm going to use that same adapter service, but this time I'm going to have the output to be a list of things. So I'm going to have it be a document reference list of things. I'm going to call it things. And now when I call, remember the same one, and this time I don't put any input, and when I get the output, it's got all these results, and I'm going to map that to things. And I think this should work. If I just run this one, it'll list all the things, so not just the one that I asked for. So let's take a look. Ignore that one, and I'm going to zoom this up, and now we have the one that we created before, and this other one is the one we just created, thing 2. You remember the one we created before, thing 1? We created it, and it is in Cumulocity, but because we didn't have the Terracotta one, we didn't have the Terracotta in the create flow, it didn't put that one there. So now we have the original one that I had in my prototype, and we have this new one. And now we're doing the demo portion, and remember we did C, R so far, and I'm going to now go to the one that comes out of the oven, HelloDBP. We've got the other services, update and delete as well. So let's go ahead and just call update right now. I'm just going to show that reading the record. Actually, I shouldn't use that one. I should use this one because we're using the ones from IS, because you have to use IS flow service to adjust the inputs and outputs from the adapter service. So I'm just going to call the same read service, but it's the one that was already done, 88001. And when we call this one, it reads it. Now let's update it. So let's update everything. So when we go and call this one, we'll say 88001. Let's change the name to be thing 2A. The health is now at 90, and the account, we switched for some reason. They sold it to somebody else, and now the account is Burlington. It's just another name, just to show that this works. And now let's call read again, just to show that it's working. And now it's got 2A, 90, and Burlington. And the last thing we do is delete, CRDL, CRUD. And now let's delete this, and then it'll go away. But first, before calling that, let's switch over and go back to Cumulocity and show that we have thing 2. It should be called thing 2A. Remember, we changed the name. So it's called thing 2A now, and also in Cumulosity and in Terracotta. And then whenever we delete it, it's going to go away. So we say 88001, and we say goodbye to that one. And if we go back, we reload, and now thing 2A went away. And it's out of the database as well, so that when we call list things, we should not see that one anymore. So we just see the one that had at the beginning. Okay, and just to clean things up, I'm going to go back here, and remember we created this one in Cumulosity, but we didn't delete it. We didn't have it in Terracotta, so I'm just going to delete this one to keep everything nice and clean. Okay, so let's show where we are right now.
Yep, so what we did there is we added Terracotta DB with the Terracotta DB adapter for doing create, read, update, delete operations onto Terracotta DB. So now we have that data in a high performance in-memory data store available to wire into our other applications.